All right. Happy to be back with my friend Harish talking about our centering skills. And the centering skill that we're going to explore together is called noticing myself. And as we hope people will start to engage with these centering skills, one of the ways that we offer that is with what we call a moment of inquiry, a question to engage the skill. And for noticing myself, the moment of inquiry is stop and ask yourself, what am I noticing, sensing, and feeling? Essentially, this resilience skills involves pausing, noticing your senses, feelings, and intuition. So noticing myself. Harish, when I use that term, noticing myself as a centering skill, do you have anything that comes to mind, or how do you define that term?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think since we've all been sheltering in place recently, one of the big transitions I've had to get used to is working remotely. And I have all my coworkers sitting next to me, and it's much easier to understand our communication skills. But I think as we've transitioned to online communication, sometimes it's easy to misinterpret what someone's intentions are through a message. So one negative result of that is, potentially being more frustrated through a communication, but as a result of misunderstanding a particular communication. So one thing I found really valuable is when I do start feeling these negative emotions tied to a particular work-based communication, I'll pause and then really first observe the actual emotion that I'm feeling, and then try and connect it to the particular source or cause of that emotion, and then sort of question: is this really the right reaction? Are there potentially other interpretations of the same message? What might my coworker be thinking? And that really helps me understand whether this is the correct emotion, or whether there might be a more positive and constructive way.
Yeah, I hear a lot within your response, and I heard you even say you felt the internal frustration and then started applying almost connecting strategies by way of empathy through you even thinking about and noticing them as other people. And so part of the offering in this as a centering skill is to really focus on one's own internal domain and the information present within a feeling like frustration. Because frustration, there's information in that either our expectations have to change or we need to try new strategies, because part of that emotion has to do with the two worlds sort of not lining up. So noticing myself starts with even that, what we were calling a friendly curiosity, right? A non-judgmental version of what you're sensing and noticing. And you did a great job of using the term pausing and asking yourself, what's the cause of that frustration? And then you did a great job of sort of taking me through some of the steps you do to connect. What else? Are there any questions that you might have?
Yeah, I think, I find a lot of value in this particular skill. But, it's not necessarily something that's super intuitive. So I guess what's one thing that sort of prevents folks from using this skill and putting it into day-to-day practice?
Great. Well, sometimes as a former athlete, and particularly the idea that one needs to channel emotions down depends on the values of the family and our cultural values around this. But really, the lack of coaching and exploration of the words themselves, and sometimes in experiencing in feeling those emotions. And sometimes we categorize the emotions as negative. If I'm feeling anger or I'm feeling frustration, that I'm not even supposed to feel that. But rather, it's what we would say reframing how we even look into the emotional domain. The problem isn't that I'm feeling anger. The information of my anger is seeking what value of mine has been crossed to create that emotion, because with anger comes change, right? I mean, anger as a cultural phenomenon has helped lead to transformation. So we've encoded and used our emotions in different ways, but sometimes the current narrative is as if we're not supposed to even feel those in the first place. What we're inviting is listening in, like I said, with friendly curiosity to find the information in that feeling.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I guess given that that's sort of the status quo, what are the best ways to really show um, folks whose default reaction is similar to what you described? What's the best way to sort of communicate the benefits of this?
Well, I think when you apply something and practice it, and you then find meaning or relief from applying that strategy, I sort of say it's like when you have a really good meal, the more you eat of it, almost the hungrier you get. So
Yeah.
having those sort of incremental opportunities to experience success then sort of opens up more territory. So if I decided tomorrow I'm going to become a marathoner, that's probably not going to work. I need to sort of approach it from where I am. And in education theory, we call that zone of proximal development, meaning if I've only explored emotions this much, it's probably ill-advised to go try to learn the whole deal and sit there. But really, what is that space between what you can do now alone and maybe with some guided practice or help you can then do tomorrow on your own? So
Mhm.
I hope that this exploration of the noticing skill for centering has been helpful, and I appreciate you stepping in with me, Harish. I really do.
Thanks, Brian. It was great.